Princeton's attempt on my life notwithstanding, today we're going to talk about balance, stance, and guards, and how they relate to fencing in ways that you can work through them. It's all ahead on TerzaTv. I apologize for the fact that you can't see my feet. That would be really valuable right now, but we only have so much room. So let's start with stance. Now stance, a lot of people think stance and guard are the same thing. They're not actually the same thing. A stance is basically the expression of your balance and how you move through the world. A guard is an actionable expression of stance. Now, way back when I started Kenjutsu, I complained about back pain. My back hurt, lower back. In fact, my lower back hurts right now. And my teacher was, in his usual direct way, he said, well, stand up straight, stupid. And so I did. And, I'm like, okay, I am standing up straight. And then he moved me. He moved my shoulders back. And all of a sudden, the back pain became less, but I also felt like I was going to fall over because I had been so used to slouching. Normally I'm standing like this. Not a great way to stand if you're going to fight. So, putting my shoulders back, it lessened the back pain, but I got a view of what standing up straight felt like. Now, everybody is different. Everybody's got a different body. They've got a different, different balance points, different amounts of muscle fatigue, muscle tightness, conditions in their spine. It's up to you to find where those points are, where those balance points are. When your feet are wider, you're more stable. When your feet are together, you're a little less stable. Now, these have advantages. The wider your stance, the more, more solid you are, the more you can take. And it's like being a mountain. They come to you, they get ground down, hit by boulders and all sorts of stuff like that. Not earth-bending. I really wish, but not earth-bending. Now, when you're standing upright, you're more mobile. You can move around. You don't have to worry about shifting your weight as much. You still shift your weight, but you don't shift it as much. So that's, in a nutshell, balance. And one of the exercises I like to do is I shift my feet from side to side. I'll put all my weight on my right foot. I'll put all my weight on my left foot. You can see my shoulders moving from side to side. This is a great exercise for finding those balance points. Another one I like to do is I like to stand and lean into it and lean back and lean forward and lean back. This is just an exercise to help me find those points that make balance in stance a lot easier. There are exercises you can do to increase your sensitivity to that. And one of the ones that I love and hate, and really, really hate, my school calls holding the barrel. Now, again, you can't see from, the shins down, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my feet, I'm going to spread them out shoulder width apart, and I'm going to push my hip carriage forward. Okay, if I bring my hands up here, I'm in a horse stance from Kung Fu. Yeah, very important. So what I do is I find that space, and then I bring my arms up. And I'm not just holding my arms in space like this. What I'm actually doing is I'm extending and pulling back at the same time, building up a dynamic tension as if I'm trying to hold something big and heavy and round like a barrel. And I push with my fingertips and I push out with my elbows. I'm also pushing out with my knees. And this is instantaneously uncomfortable. And so what I have to do is I have to shift my hip around to kind of find a spot where it doesn't hurt. And this is a constant process. And, you go until failure. Now, one thing I have to say, failure in this case is not, oh God, I can't do it anymore. It's a gradual process. Your hands go lower and lower, and eventually you just can't lift them up because you're out of juice. Now, I've seen people do this for like 45 minutes at a stretch, and it is no fun. This is one of the least fun exercises that I do on a regular basis to try to get sensitivity for my stance. So now we're going to talk about guards. Now, guards it's a very interesting concept. When you get into the idea of stance, you know, it's how you stand, how you carry yourself. A guard is actually an actionable version of a stance. Now, I can just stand here. This is a stance. I can go into a guard, I can change my body configuration, and suddenly target area changes, notwithstanding, blade position can change, all these things, but it's another stance. You know, you're just not obliged to hold on to it forever. You have to be able to shift from one to the other. That's why we did the earlier work with the barrel and the stance work where you're shifting from side to side. So, if you think about it, a parry, where I take my sword and I bring it across, like this is a French foil parry done with a side sword. I know, don't cross the streams, but you know, you can see it a lot better than a foil. So, you know, here's a French foil parry. Well, if you look at me, I'm in a body position that changes my relationship to what's going on in front of me. And if I'm going to go with Italian, so say I'm in Terza, okay, and I want to go to Quarta, I turn my hip. And there I am. A parry is just a change of your body position. It's another stance, another guard. And you need to be able to be fluid between the various positions that you're going to find your sword in. You need to be able to move and be mobile and go from one to the other. That's why we're doing the earlier work with the barrel and the stance, because you get a feel for, oh, well, where is my weight? And that's a very critical thing with any stance or guard, because you need to be able to move. If you're like planted on both feet firmly, well, you're going to be able to take a lot of punishment coming at you. You're going to be able to stop a lot. You're going to be rooted and grounded, but you're not necessarily going to be able to move out of the way. So what do? You shift your weight. You take weight off of one foot or another, you load it, you make it subtle so people can't see it. Suppose we've got a guard. I'm going to go into Terza. All right. You can see the sword. My sword tip is pointed in the vicinity of the throat of my opponent, and I'm blocking off a line. Say he's going for this spot here. I'm going to put this in the way. Or I can turn my hip and put it here. And what I'm doing is I'm blocking off that line. Or maybe, as he's closing, I want to block it off with prima. So as you can see, these different guard positions are covering my body. And they all have some nice properties. One, we'll start with Terza. So one, here I am in Terza. Now I can put it in front of me, I can put it off to the side, I can angle my blade in, I can angle my blade out a little bit. You know, it's kind of a halvesy between Quarta and Terza, but I'm covering this area. And my hand goes up to be useful. I like to put it up by my face because I think it looks cool. I go here, and I have the weight off of my front foot. My weight is on my back foot. Now, you've seen stances with Fabrice that are low, like really low. Now, I love Fabrice. I can't necessarily do those guards, but I can kind of tell you how they work because, well, practice. All right, so in Terza, if I want to go low, I take my butt and I push it back. I'm not bending over at the waist. That's a great way to hurt and or injure yourself. What I'm doing is I'm lightening the load on my front foot, which you can't see, apologies, and I'm pushing my posterior back, and my hand is still up. My sword just naturally changes its relation, and I can go lower by pushing that out. And what limits me specifically is the muscle tension in my legs, because my legs don't always want to bend that way. So these are guards, and guards, as you can see, are positions that you take with a sword. And they're designed to do a job. We've talked about European swords. And now we're going to talk a little bit about Japanese swords. Well, actually this is a boken. Bo meaning wood, ken meaning sword. Stance. This one is called yama. And if I step forward from yama and I bring my sword up, This is chewed on. If I bring my sword up over my head, you've seen this before, Jodan. I bring the sword down to about knee level, Gedan. And then we have Wakiadari. And Wakiadari has a variation. Notice you can't see the sword, you can see the suka. A lot of stories about why this works, but it really does. They can't tell how long the thing is if it's broken. And then shift the feet. Wakimiji. Now Wakimiji, the blade is forward, as opposed to Wakiadari, where the blade is to the side. Nice distinction. And then this has the lower version. And by the way, you can cut from any of these positions. Now, one style of swordsmanship that I really, really enjoy is destreza. And the thing I like about destreza is it's eerily kind of stance-wise a combination between the Japanese swordsmanship stances and the rapier stances. Now, the one that everybody knows, the right angle guard. I'm standing in profile. I've got my weight actually on my back foot, and I leave that front foot loose so I can move. Now, I'm not going to live here. There's also a hanging guard, which you see in things like the movement and conclusion and such like that. So again, what I'm trying to illustrate is that the difference between the principles of these different arts, destreza, sherma, and kenjutsu, are really not all that different. You're in balance, you have to be able to move, and you have to be able to get out of the way. Very important stuff. I want to take a moment to talk about the difference between different kinds of pain. There is uncomfortable pain, where, you're doing something strenuous, and you're like, oh God, that's, that leg is tight, or that hip is tight, or gosh, it just doesn't feel right. Well, that's you adjusting to an activity using muscle groups in ways that you haven't used them before. Uncomfortable hurt, while painful, is just that, uncomfortable. Now, there's another kind of hurt where you're doing something and you go, oh, and you feel something go pop or sproing or snap or whatnot. All right, that's hurt. When you hurt yourself, your body gives you a warning going, hey, guess what? This is the early warning system. You might want to slow down and or stop, take a breather, kind of, check out what's going on because it hurts too much. Usually a pain like that is sharp or something. And you need to take a breather so that you don't hurt yourself. And then there's the third type of pain, injured. Now, injured is the one where it's like, nope, we're done. Snap, crackle, pop, whatever, and you gotta heal. There's a difference between uncomfortable, okay, I can shift to make this feel better, hurt, oh, I better stop because if I don't, I'm gonna do some damage, and injured, I need to heal. Pulled muscles are something you need to heal. You can feel a pull coming on, like maybe you step the wrong way and you feel something go, or you bend the wrong way and your spine goes, nope, we're not doing that. So you need to be aware of these different things. And I can't stress enough, if you're hurt, stop. If you're injured, stop. If you're uncomfortable, well, uncomfortable is different. Uncomfortable is where a lot of this work happens because you're like, oh, okay, how do I make that not feel uncomfortable? And by shifting your body, you find out. There you have it, another episode of TerzaTv. Look at the camera, not at the monitor. Okay, there you have it, another episode of TerzaTv. We covered a lot of ground today. There was balance, and stances, and guards, and exercises for making all of that work and work for you. That's why we're here, to make this stuff work for you. Now, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. The channel is actually steadily growing, which is really nice to see. And if you are new and you just showed up, if you like what you see, hit the like button, subscribe, leave some comments. We love comments, we love feedback, even if it's negative. We use that to kind of improve our product over time. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the list, hopefully.